Your Honor, my client pleads oopsie daisy.
During the course of making lore videos, sometimes mistakes can be made. It may come as a surprise to some of you guys watching, but content creators are still human at the end of the day, at least until the YouTube AI channels take over. There were occasions where I had the direct sources right in front of me, and whether through human error or through other unknown sources, the wrong information ends up getting published. And so, as the title implies, the goal here is to fix the whoopsies that happened this year. Furthermore, I will take the opportunity to go through some points that were made that are in need of a better explanation. All the points that are raised in this video are taken directly from the comment section of my other videos, so I guess this video will count as community engagement. And so without further ado, let's get started. This was addressed by James Mortimer, 4016. Thank you for taking the time to point this out to me. In the Ragnarok tank video, I incorrectly stated that the Leman Russ tank was made of ceramite, which is factually incorrect. In reality, they would be made of cast PLASTEEL, which is then reinforced by ferrosteel plating, as mentioned here in Imperial Armor Volume 1. At the time I was writing that particular section of the script, I was looking at some very, very early cross-section drawings of the Leman Russ, where the ceramic inserts were mentioned on the diagram, which my brain somehow correlated to ceramite, and the idea then became stuck in my head, and eventually made its way into the script I was writing. I should note that PLASTEEL still combines the best aspect of RHA and the heat-resistant aspect of composite armor as one easy-to-produce material that is easy to assemble. So, at the very least, that section of the video is still largely correct. And for those of you who are interested in what PLASTEEL is, I am sorry to disappoint you, but there is not a lot of information given on it and what the difference between PLASTEEL and ceramite is. From what I can gather, the common consensus is that ceramite is a higher grade of regular PLASTEEL that is more expensive to produce. This lack of information is surprising to me, as it is a widely used material within Imperium that is used in the production of vehicles, buildings, and even Terminator armor. In the If Space Marine 2 was lore accurate video, I came across a fair few comments about the caliber of the bolter being too small, when compared to the Space Marine wielding the bolter. And as a disclaimer, for that segment, I did take the measurements from the official sources, the 3rd Index Astartes to be exact, and this measurement has mostly been consistent to this very day, with some minor variations depending on the model of the bolt gun. For those who are unaware, 75 caliber is almost 20 millimeters, which is absolutely bonkers for a firearm, especially when it is fired in 3 to 4 round bursts. And if you are curious, this is what a 75 caliber round looks like, and this is how it compares next to a 50 caliber round. And this is what it will do to a person. Do note that this is a regular solid shell being fired in this clip, so a bolt shell with its explosive core will be dealing even more damage. But that is not even the end of it, because when placed in the hands of a Space Marine, it becomes apparent that 20 millimeters is still a way too small proportionally when compared to the official game models and artworks. We do not have to speculate too much, however, as a user called Outlaw6 on Reddit made some calculations. And I will leave a link to the thread in the comment section down below. But in summary, if the game models and official artworks are to be believed, then by taking account of the size of the magazine and the size of the ejection port of a regular bolter, a single bolt would come up to be around 25 millimeters in diameter, or roughly a full caliber. A 5mm diameter increase may not sound like a lot, but this is around the size of the ammunition used on the Bushmaster cannon on the M2 Bradley. Once again, here is a clip of something similar being fired at some gallon water bottles. If this looks over the top, I should remind everyone that we are 70% water, and the shell is not exploding like a bolt round would. I also found it morbidly interesting that the force of the impact also broke the tables that the water bottles were resting on. By the way, these clips were made by Kentucky Ballistics, so do check them out if you're into these kinds of videos. I find it funny that if we want to be hyper-realistic about Space Marine bolters, a low-accurate bolt is large enough to approach ammo cock-off territory, and one can start making a reasonable argument on whether Space Marines armed with bolters and heavy bolters should be making deadly demise rolls. Lastly, I also described the bolter as being like a grenade launcher when it is more of an autocannon. So I will take this opportunity to correct myself on this point as well. Yeah, I was a complete clown for this one. Thank you to Civ1988 for catching this and letting me know. As for why this might have happened. So these comments came up a few times. I could have attempted to gaslight everyone into thinking that this was in fact some kind of 40 chess move to farm engagement, but I doubt anyone would have bought that. So yeah, I may have dyslexia. It is not something I have noticed in myself up until now, but coupled with what happened here, and how I made the other previous mistakes, I am starting to notice a trend. While this is all self-diagnosed, it is kind of a funny way to find out. When I added this segment to the Space Marine 2 Law Accurate video, I knew it was going to cause some confusion. This was namely due to the Von Ryan's Leapers mixed into the action sequence in episode 2 of the Ties. And lo and behold, the Von Ryan's Leapers do look superficially similar to Lictors. However, you will notice that their heads are shaped differently, not to mention their distinct difference in size. And so, anticipating this, I added another example in the segment, another case where Lictors grouped up together for a hunt, expressly to solidify the point being made. The second example I chose took place during the Octarius Wars, and saying this was a very large conflict between the Orcs and the Tyranid is putting it mildly. And this is where a particularly competent Orc war boss was singled out by the Hive Mind for elimination. The extract from the Tyranid 5th edition Codex was never exact with the amount of Lictors present. However, it did note that there was a dozen mantis-like claws, which an individual Lictor possesses 2 of, so an estimate of roughly 6 Lictors was a safe bet. What I did not count on, however, was the amount of viewers who mixed up what happened in the Ties and Scarfang's demise, saying that the event was retconned, and Warboss Scarfang was done in by Von Ryan's Leapers instead. However, that would have made no sense. For one, this encounter was reiterated and confirmed to have happened again in the more recent Octarius War book. That, and it would have made no in-law sense either, as the Hive Mind would not have trusted such an important mission to just 6 Von Ryan Leapers. You have to realize that Warboss Scarfang held together a Wa so large that it occupied several planets, and in fact it was so massive that it outnumbered Hive Fleet Leviathan on the ground, where the main battle took place. So not only was it a critical mission, but the man himself was not an Orc to be messed around with. Now imagine if you were the Hive Mind. Would you have entrusted this important mission to 6 Von Ryan Leapers, which by the way are merely a strain of evolved Homogons? Or would you have entrusted the mission to the much more capable Lictors, who are evolved from Tyranid warriors? In my opinion, Warboss Scarfang would have cleaned house against 20 Von Ryan Leapers, much less only 6 of them. And so this concludes this year's channel lore audit. Thankfully, it is short, but then again, I only started this channel around the end of July. It is also nice to have a chance to interact with my viewers' comments. That's about it for now. If you like what I'm doing here, do check out my other videos as well. Lord knows some of them can use more views. So until then, please take care. I will see you all again next time. Bye bye.